I make good money, but I still feel broke. I don't understand where it all goes. It feels like as soon as I receive it, poof, it's gone. Does this sound familiar? I work with so many mompreneurs who make good money, six figures, and yet they have no idea where it went. Why? Because they're not tracking their finances, they're not paying attention to it, they're not giving every dollar a job before it even comes in. All businesses need two things: a business plan and a financial plan. If you're not sure where your money is going, then I'm inviting you to join my school community, The Smell of Money, where we dive into exactly where your money is going and we start to look at how you think and react to the money that you're receiving and paying out so that money flows in all ways, always. Join today. The link is in the comments.
If you're tired of feeling shame about past financial decisions, worried you'll never achieve financial stability, and ready for a clear plan to take control of your money and experience true financial freedom, you're in the right place. Hey, I'm Lisa, wealth activator, independent insurance broker, and your guide to rewriting your money story. I learned the secret to creating financial freedom and stability after divorce, and I'm ready to share it with you. If you're ready for steady, stress-free income, clarity with your money, and the confidence to spend without guilt, grab your favorite essential oil, take a deep breath, and let's sniff our way through the smell of money. Today, we have a very interesting guest. She has been an investment expert rewriting the rules of wealth, legacy, and leadership by connecting consciousness to capital to empower families, founders, and high net worth individuals to create wealth that is both expansive and energetically aligned. And you all know, all of you that have subscribed to the show, that we're diving in deep to the consciousness, connecting subconscious, super subconscious to consciousness to make different moves with our money so that it will multiply so that we can leave that beautiful legacy. So go grab something cold to drink, get rid of all the distractions, and come join us as we listen to Sylvia share her journey, her expertise, and then stay to the end so you can find out how to connect with her. Thank you so much, Sylvia, for being here. So tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got started, what your money story was like, and what made you get into this industry.
I had a very debilitating and crippling money story when I was younger. Not necessarily anything that my parents did. My parents were students when I was born. They were young. I grew up on a university campus while my dad was getting his PhD. So we didn't have money, but I also wasn't aware that we didn't have money because everybody was a grad student and, life was actually really quite simple. And I never really understood the world of wealth until I was much, much older. I would say even after college, even in college, I don't think I was really super aware of it. And then when I began to have my first experiences of seeing that, like there's some people in the world out there who are like super wealthy, it felt like something that I could never attain or I could never have because those people were somehow different than me.
Mm,
Yeah. And so
yeah.
I started to have that money story and it was at the time it was reinforced in these really, really interesting social ways. I was living in Argentina and I had just started a business with two other people in Argentina. So we were like technically entrepreneurs and we were just building our business. We weren't holding, piles of moolah. I started to go to a yoga studio in Buenos Aires that was like a very, very great yoga studio, but also had like a lot of very wealthy women in it. Somehow it was a magnet for a lot of the who's who in Buenos Aires. And I started to become socially sort of friends with them. And, we get like a coffee after yoga, things like that. And then one day I invited one of them to come over to my place. And I remember the look on her face when she saw where I lived, which before she walked in, I thought I had a great place. I loved it. I had done a lot of the work myself. My boyfriend at the time, myself, had done it. We had like, built our own little couch out of like cement. So I thought it was like the coolest place ever. And when she walked in, she's probably like, I don't see any Roche Bobois anywhere. She's like, where's the Armani Casa? Like she thought I was poor when she walked in. And
Mm.
it changed her energy towards me. Like we were no longer buddies after that. I could tell that I fit in a different category of person for her after she saw where I lived.
Oh,
And
wow.
so a lot of those money stories for me in the earlier years were not very empowering ones. And that is probably why I ended up working with money as my career is I've had some kind of karma to really understand the conditioning we can have around money and help to learn the codes of how we can break that conditioning.
Yes, the wealth activation codes, breaking through the barriers, the blockers that keep us stuck in that emotional roller coaster of feeling insignificant, not worthy to hold on to the money. And a lot of our listeners have these stories where, they want to make multi six, seven, eight figures, but they don't think they're deserving or, they don't know how to hold on to that much money. We always say if you don't know what to do with $1,000, you're not going to know what to do with $10,000. And it seems like society as a whole, it's living, client to client, check to check. So what kind of strategy have you implemented that has helped you rise above that? Because I imagine your younger self is, had to go through some work to process that, to be shunned by somebody because of your surroundings. I mean, having a home that you love is more important than having a grandeur space, that you may or may not fit into.
Yeah, it's because your question is like, what did financial empowerment look for me like for me coming from that place? Like, what was that process like?
Yeah, well, how did you work through that? I imagine being, feeling that energy of that person walking in and not feeling comfortable, not wanting to, be friends with you anymore because she didn't like the place that you lived in. She was judging you based on, your surroundings, thinking that, oh, you don't have any money, you must be poor. I imagine that had a great impact on your emotional relationship with money. So how did you work through that?
It did have an impact. The first thing that I did to work on it was just to learn the language of money.
Hmm.
Like just study, what's a stock, what's a bond, what does it mean when you have an index? What's the S&P 500? I mean, indexes were really just emerging at the time. It's like a brand new thing, indexing. Um, like just to actually, you don't have to be like an expert. I went on to get my CFA charter. I did that more to legitimize myself in the industry. It's nobody needs to go to that level of detail in terms of your knowledge base, but definitely get like an idiot's guide to investing
Hmm.
and learn the language. And then also understand as much as you can what's happening with the developments in cryptocurrency, because cryptocurrency is going to significantly change how we think about money. It may change which currency is the dominant currency one day. It may not be the dollar, it might be something different. So you want to become fluent and educated in cryptocurrency as well. And that's just table stakes. Like you can't be like, I really want to be empowered in the world of money, but I refuse to understand anything about how it works. Like
Hmm.
you have to learn the master's tools fully if you want to dismantle the master's house. Like you have to know the system and understand it. And
Yeah.
it's not hard. So, like, if you hear that and you're like, "Oh, I can't do that. That's not possible." That's part of your money story. Part of your money story is that I can't learn these things other people can. You need to let go of that money story. Every single person can learn what I'm talking about. Ev
Hmm.
it makes sense once you start to understand how it all works.
Right. Yeah. And knowledge is power when we can learn, especially what we're comfortable with investing in. I know a lot of people, don't want to be, they don't want to learn about crypto or some of the investments, like the index funds or, you know, hedge funds or equities or whatever, because they're not there yet, or they were taught that that's not meant for women. Our audience is mostly divorced women who their spouses handled all that for them. And, they were busy handling everything else. So adding that one more thing to their, plate, like learn this. So when you think about the knowledge is power, like what is there any books or any like guides that you recommend that they could tap into that would be like a fast track? Like, you said something for dummies, financial literacy, investing for dummies. Is there a such book? If there is, I haven't come across it.
But I will give you a book recommendation, but before you even get to the book, because we don't want to think about this as a chore. This
Hmm.
Not giving you the advice of like, come on, you got to get disciplined. You got to stop buying that Starbucks. You got to save your money. You got to get disciplined, girl. No, 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 not at all. Like, I'm saying more like investing can feel like storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it is a currency that supports and sustains your existence. So you want to be an intimate relationship to it. And it's not scary. Just open up the book. It's not that scary once you get inside because it really is like stories. Okay. So I want women to let go of all of this. Like, well, I let the manhandle, it was boring to me. I didn't find it interesting, or it's over my head, or it's too complicated. Let go of all of that. And a great book to start with is Money Master the Game by Tony Robbins. It it's clean. He talks in a very engaging voice. He interviews a lot of different people who have different perspectives on investing that you can learn from. I think that he can I think he started like a RIA out of that. Like he started a money management firm out of that. So there's moments where it feels a little salesy because I think he's trying to like get people to join the platform. Just ignore all those parts and
Mm-hmm.
just on the meat of the.
Yeah. Yeah. And once you have that knowledge of what, what you want to invest in, what's going to make your money grow. I mean, there's so many steps before you even get to the investings. Like we talk about saving. Like a lot of women aren't even comfortable saving because they don't feel like they can because there's so much demands on them to, run their business and, investing in their children. And a lot of times people are like, I really don't have the ability to save. I need my money to do, this. And they really get nervous about locking up their money in any kind of, short-term investments even. So what advice do you have for them?
You're running a deficit.
Mhm.
You're running a deficit and it'll catch up to you eventually. Period. Like it's hard. I get it. Yeah, it's hard. It's also hard to take care of your health. But it just those effects of not saving and not taking care of yourself financially, they compound over time and it will lead to more and more serious consequences for you as you age.
Mhm.
And so, but we have a really hard time as humans thinking in long time frames. We're just not biologically really designed well that way. It's like a blip in the matrix or something. We
Mhm.
are very over indexed in short time frames. And so you've got to like, I don't know, read some like Japanese literature, like Japanese culture, like they think with much longer time frames. Like just like go visit Japan. Get your mind to think more long term. And that way you start to see the risk of not planning for the future.
Yeah, in my programs, we have the future fund. It's like, setting aside a minimum of 10% for savings is paying your future self to do what you love to do. Now, you talk a lot about the shamanic insights. Did I say that correctly? Shamanic insights to help leverage intuition for high stake decision making. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, there's a direct kind of relevancy to anyone who's trying to become more financially literate and more empowered in their decisions around their investing. And that is that you need to put your state of consciousness as one of the factors when you're making financial decisions. So it's basically like a premise that your state of consciousness always matters, especially when it comes to anything in the 3D, because you are manifesting your reality, whether you realize it or not. And a lot of the way you're doing that, not all the way you're doing this, through your state of consciousness. So
Mhm.
if you're saying, okay, should I save that 10% this month or should I, go buy this thing that I feel like I really need? Well, what's your state of consciousness when you're making that decision? Are you feeling anxious? Are you having FOMO? Are you feeling rushed? Are you feeling busy? Those are not really great states of consciousness to make significant decisions from. The state of
Mhm.
consciousness to make decisions from is your most connected, calm self. So put that on your checklist when you're making decisions. What is my state of consciousness right now? And am I in the right state to make a financial decision for myself?
I like that. And such an easy thing to do and just check in with yourself and, how does it feel? I know I'm into human design and depending on what human design you are, you can really like, check with your sacral authority or your splenic and really tap into how does this feel for me so that we can make a safe, wise investment. And I always look at the research, go back and see what how it's been performing for the last 5 years. You talk about decoding conscious capital and investment decisions beyond the bottom line. when you think about how unpredictable the stock market is, it's been going all over the place this past few weeks. It's crazy, especially with the government shutdown in the United States. How can someone confidently invest when we know the market is so unpredictable?
You have to be investing according to your timeline. So time is a really important factor in investing. So if we have a lot of volatility in the market right now, that means that you will have short-term fluctuations. So if you need your capital in any short time frame, you actually need to be more conservatively invested.
Hmm.
Looking at longer time frames, you need to stop looking at it so you don't get too nervous and anxious. So volatility is really only dangerous over short period.
Yeah, and I have a lot of clients I work with. They come to me at, late 40s, early 50s, and they haven't saved a dime for retirement. What advice would you give to them?
I see that a lot, especially like in communities of healers. I mean, I don't know what to say other than I actually do have some empathy because I think that, especially for a lot of women that are independent business owners or running healing practices, we as a society have not given you enough support to be able to save. Like, I don't like the narrative of like, oh, damn, you haven't saved. Like, you're in trouble, girl. You need to stop buying those clothes. And like, it's like so
Mhm.
punishing the narrative. It's like, no, actually, like I know a lot of like very high quality, like intelligent women who haven't been able to save because they've devoted their life to being, a teacher or a therapist or a healer. And we don't have great maternity leave policies. We don't have great healthcare options. We don't have a safety net for women. And women, whether we like it or not, biologically, we do bear the children. And we deserve a better safety net so that we
Mhm.
end up in these positions where we don't have enough resources in our 40s and 50s.
Yes, yes.
So I'm not going to blame the women for that. I was recently traveling in the Middle East and this young woman in full hijab sat down and talked to me. And she's like, I think our culture is more feminist than yours because you have like no safety nets for women and they bear the children of your country.
Mm.
That's, yeah, that's a good point.
Land of the free.
Maybe it doesn't matter if the guy leaves me or stays with me. Nothing matters. If I have given a man a child, he is 100% financially responsible for that child all the way until he's an adult. And I'm not responsible for any of it financially. And I'm like, well, what happens if he doesn't pay? She's like, he goes to jail. I was like, oh, like, oh, that seems supportive of women. But no, on a more serious note, that's a very tough one. I have a lot of empathy for it. And the only thing you can really do is realize that compounding is your friend. And so,
Mhm.
delaying is just going to give you a worse outcome. Even if you start today and you start with a little bit, you'd be surprised what can compound over a period of 20 years.
Oh, yeah. And the easiest demonstration is, if you start just with $100 a month over a 20-year period, it'll grow to be $1 million, with compound interest. And especially if you invest it wisely, and going to a financial advisor to help you make that move is so important. So tell us a little bit about what you do and how our audience can connect with you to work with you.
Sure. Right now, I any kind of work on the investing side is just through a family office consulting firm. And so family offices are for people that maybe have sold a business and are establishing sort of their own personal investment firm is a way to think about it. So most of our listeners today are going to be people that want to be investing on retail platforms. And there are some really, really good, increasingly innovative options out there. I think that the model is going to go less and less to needing a very expensive advisor to tell you which funds to buy or which stocks to buy. I think that that's an outdated thing, especially as AI becomes extremely competent at constructing portfolios for us. So what you really want in an advisor is the life coach. It's the life
Mhm.
coach. It's the one who says, should we keep the money in the business or should we take some out and put it into your 401k right now? Like that's the kind of coaching that you want, strategic coach. And there are some platforms I see out there that are understanding that and are emphasizing that that's the quality that their advisors have. And then the investing side has become almost commodified and simplified so that it has a much lower cost, which makes a lot of sense for a lot of people. So Sally Krawcheck started a platform called Elvest, which is primarily for women,
Mhm.
EVEST. So I recommend platforms like that, or just, if you feel like you don't need the life coach part, just do it everything at Schwab, where you're going to pay very, very little to invest and manage it yourself. That's most of the time when people say, how would I work with you? I say, go work with a really super competent advisor who fits that kind of criteria. Also, do lead retreats. The retreats are spiritual retreats. And if you want to do a retreat, you can go to thesylvia.com and find out about how to reach out to me for retreat opportunities.
Beautiful. Retreats around wealth, money, relationships with money.
Yeah, there are some that are specifically for learning to steward wealth consciously, but I occasionally do other kinds of retreats as well for like trauma or just general awakening. So it's my
Well, I'm always telling my clients and the listeners that you can make all the money that you want, and go after it and chase it. But if you don't have this emotional connection, I mean, we date money because it's a relationship. And until you change that relationship, you'll never have money. Money will always, maybe you'll have it for a little while, just like a relationship, but it'll always ebb and flow in your life in a way that's not satisfying, that's not security. And, all of our listeners are listening for that financial security, that freedom, that safety net, so that they can leave this beautiful legacy. And, they don't have to worry about whether or not they're having 2 lattes in one day or, they got it covered. They got their money bucket set up. So I love how you're implementing the spirituality with it so that you can have that better relationship. And it all begins with yourself. So thank you, Sylvia, for sharing your expertise and letting our audience know the first easy steps that you can take to help multiply your wealth. So everyone listening, check the show notes if you're interested in doing a retreat. See what's coming up for you. And like Sylvia said, get started. Start with the book, start with a financial advisor, but just start to save, start to invest, start to grow your knowledge, because remember, it doesn't matter how much money you have, it's what you do with it.
I make good money, but I still feel.
Hey mompreneurs, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, please follow the show and share it with a friend who's rebuilding her finances after divorce. No spreadsheets, no restrictive budgets, only confidence to build financial freedom. Also, please drop a quick 5-star review so more moms starting over can find this. It lights me up to know this podcast is helping you. Inhale confidence, exhale scarcity. I'll meet you back on Tuesday for another episode. It doesn't matter how much money you have, it's what you do with it.